Part 1: The Escape. The idea was born spontaneously, as the best or worst decisions usually are. Taylor dropped a link in our group chat on Thursday evening, when I was already lying in bed scrolling through my feed in a half-sleep. "Look at this. 3 nights. Whole house. Ridiculously cheap. Who's in?" The house wasn't in the middle of nowhere. Not in the woods, not on the edge of some godforsaken swamp. It was in a regular suburb, neat cottages with trimmed lawns, identical mailboxes, kids' bikes by the driveways. The American dream in miniature. That's what sold us. After a year of lockdown restrictions and endless Zoom calls, we wanted quiet, but not the oppressive quiet of abandoned places, just normalcy. By midnight, all 5 of us had agreed, me, Tyler, Ben, Lucas, and Mia. Old friends. We'd known each other since college, 8 years of friendship, hundreds of parties, dozens of trips. We knew who snored, who was lactose intolerant, and who fell asleep first after the second glass of wine. Friday evening, we loaded our stuff into Tyler's minivan and took off. The 2-hour drive passed in familiar chaos: Maya's playlists, Ben's stupid jokes, Lucas's eternal grumbling about traffic. I sat in the back seat watching the city gradually give way to suburbs, then to neat rows of almost identical houses. Ours was at the end of a quiet street. 2 stories, gray siding, white shutters. Nothing remarkable. The lawn was trimmed, the bushes neat, even the porch looked freshly painted. The only thing that unsettled me then was the absolute emptiness. No cars in driveways, no lights in neighbors' windows, no sound. As if the street had died out. Key under the mat, Tyler read from his phone screen. Accented seriously. Like in a cheap horror movie. Or like in sweet small-town America, Maya countered first out of the car. Relax, Tyler. Not everything in the world is a thriller. The key really was under a worn mat that said welcome. Heavy brass, cold to the touch. Taylor opened the door and we went inside. The house smelled of cleaning products and something else, a faint, almost imperceptible aroma I couldn't identify. Inside, everything was immaculate. Too immaculate. White walls, minimalist furniture, not a single photograph, not a single personal item. As if no one lived here. Or as if someone had carefully erased all traces of life. "Wow," Ben said, looking around. The landlord's clearly obsessed with cleanliness. Or with control, Lucas muttered, running a finger along the countertop. There wasn't even any dust. We divided up the rooms quickly. I took a bedroom on the first floor, at the end of the hallway, small, but with a large window overlooking the backyard. Mia and Tyler settled upstairs, Ben and Lucas in adjacent rooms on the first floor. By 9 in the evening we were already sitting in the living room with beer, pizza, and an atmosphere that seemed to promise a perfect weekend. The first night went great. We drank, laughed, reminisced about old stories. Lucas talked about his new job, Maya complained about her ex, Tyler made plans for a trip to Iceland. Around 2 in the morning, fatigue took over and we began dispersing to our rooms. I remember closing my eyes. I remember the feeling of a soft pillow and heaviness in my eyelids. And then I woke up. Part 2: First cracks. The clock on the nightstand showed 4:47. I didn't know what woke me. Not a sound, not a dream. Just a sudden, acute feeling that something had changed. As if the pressure in the house had dropped or risen, that same feeling before a storm, when the air becomes dense and heavy. I lay motionless, listening. Silence. Absolute. I couldn't even hear the hum of the refrigerator. But then I noticed light, a thin strip under the door. Yellow, warm light from the kitchen. We definitely turned it off. I got up, threw on a t-shirt, and went out into the hallway. Cold tile under bare feet. The light really was on in the kitchen. I walked in and froze. On the table sat an open plastic container. Homemade pasta, spaghetti in tomato sauce, still warm, steam rising faintly above it. Next to it lay a fork. Used. I stared at it, trying to remember. We ordered peas. There was no pasta. I opened the refrigerator, only our beer and leftover pizza. No containers. What the hell? I muttered, and at that moment Mia walked into the kitchen. She looked sleepy, disheveled, in an oversized t-shirt, wrapped in a blanket. What's going on? She yawned. Did you make this? I nodded at the pasta. She frowned, came closer. No. Did you? No. We stared at the container in silence. Maybe Ben went to the store. Mai suggested uncertainly. At 5 in the morning. Where would he find a 24-hour store with homemade pasta? Mai shrugged, but I could see she was on alert. Maybe the landlord left it. Like a welcome gift. We looked at each other. We both understood how forced that sounded. But the alternative was worse. So we agreed with that version, covered the container with a lid, and went back to sleep. That was the first mistake. In the morning, when we told the others about the pasta, Ben laughed. Maybe the house has an Italian ghost. He cooks carbonara at night. We laughed. Nervously, but still laughed. Lucas, always rational to the core, suggested we simply forgot one of us ordered food late at night and didn't remember. Alcoholic amnesia, he concluded. Classic. The day passed calmly. We walked around the neighborhood, found a small park, had an improvised picnic. By evening, the tension of the first morning had almost dissipated. Almost. In the evening, Maya was first to take a shower. I was in the living room when she came back, wet hair, puzzled face. Someone was already in the shower, she said. Accented what? The bathroom was full of steam. The mirror was fogged up. Like someone had taken a shower right before me. We exchanged glances. No one had been in the shower. Maybe the steam just stayed from this morning, Tyler suggested uncertainly. From this morning? Mia crossed her arms. That was 8 hours ago, Tiller. Steam doesn't last 8 hours. I went upstairs to check for myself. She was right. The bathroom was warm, humid. The mirror above the sink was completely fogged. And on its surface I saw streaks as if someone had run their palm from top to bottom. But the streaks were strange. The fingerprints seemed too long. Too elongated. I put my hand up, it didn't match. Condensation, Lucas said, appearing in the doorway. Water runs unevenly. Creates an illusion. I wanted to believe him. I really did. Part 3. Voices in the dark. The second night began anxiously. We tried to watch a movie, but the atmosphere was tense. Every creak, every rustle made us flinch. Ben was first to go to bed, said he was tired. Around midnight the rest of us dispersed too. I couldn't fall asleep for a long time. I lay staring at the ceiling listening. Old houses always make noise, wooden beams, pipes, wind. I knew that. But these sounds were different, as if someone was moving carefully. Stopping. Listening. At some point I heard footsteps. Quiet, soft. They walked down the hallway and stopped at my door. I stopped breathing. Silence. Then quiet breathing. Someone was standing behind the door, breathing. I lay there, clutching the blanket, unable to move. Seconds stretched like hours. Finally, the footsteps moved away. In the morning at breakfast, Ben looked exhausted. I slept badly, he admitted, stirring his coffee. I kept thinking someone was walking down the hallway. Stopping at the door. I even heard breathing. The blood drained from my face. Me too, I exhaled. Everyone stared at me. Accented, what do you mean too? Tiller asked slowly. Ben and I described in detail what we heard. The same thing. Simultaneously. But our rooms were at opposite ends of the house. Okay, stop, Lucas raised his hands. Let's not panic. One of us went to the bathroom at night, their footsteps echoed through the house, and you both, already on edge, interpreted them as something sinister. And the breathing? Ben asked it. You gonna explain the breathing? Pipes. Ventilation. Who knows what? Old houses are full of sounds. We wanted to believe Lucas. But then Meh said quietly. And the knife on the table, you gonna explain that too? We turned around. On the kitchen table lay a long carving knife. It lay perfectly straight, parallel to the edge of the table, as if someone had carefully measured it with a ruler. Who took it out? Tiller asked. Silence. I didn't take it out, Meh said. Me neither, Lucas added. We all denied it. The knife had simply appeared there. The rest of the day passed in mounting tension. We stopped joking. Stopped laughing. Everyone was absorbed in their own thoughts. In the evening, Tyler suggested leaving. Listen, this isn't normal. I don't believe in ghosts, but something here is definitely wrong. Let's just pack up and leave. And say what? Ben snapped. That we got scared by pasta and a knife. We're just psyching ourselves out. It's psychology, not paranormal. Then explain who was walking around at night. Tiller raised his voice. One of us. Sleepwalking, forgetfulness, whatever. They were about to argue when Lucas intervened. I'll look up information about the house. Maybe something really did happen here. He got on the internet. Sat for a long time, tapping at his phone, his face growing darker. Finally, he slowly raised his head. The house has been sold 6 times in the last 4 years. So what? May asked. That's a lot. A lot. One deal was cancelled. The description mentions an incident of a domestic nature. No details. What kind of incident? I asked it. I don't know. There's no more information. But... He fell silent, staring at the screen. But what? The last owner disappeared. Just disappeared. Police found the house empty, but his car was in the driveway, his phone on the table. Accented, he just vanished. Silence hung like a heavy stone. Part 4. The Reflection. The third night became the turning point. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't at all. I lay with my eyes open, listening to every sound. Around 3 in the morning I heard voices. Quiet, muffled, coming from somewhere downstairs. From the living room. I got up, quietly opened the door, and went out into the hallway. The voices continued. Several people talking, interrupting each other. I recognized the intonations, my voice, Ben's voice, Mia's. But what were they saying? I carefully approached the living room, pressing my back against the wall. The voices became clearer. And then it hit me, they were repeating our conversation. The one from earlier that day. Word for word, phrase by phrase. My voice asking about the knife. May's voice answering. But with a delay, with pauses like a broken recording. I looked into the living room. No one was there. The voices stopped that very second. Abruptly. As if someone had turned them off. I stood in the doorway, breathing heavily, when I noticed movement. In the turned-off television. In its dark screen, the hallway behind my back was reflected. And a figure. It stood right behind me. Tall, vague, as if not fully here. The reflection was blurred, as if doubled. But I saw a hand, it was slowly rising. I jerked around. No one. An empty hallway. Just me. My breathing. My heart pounding like crazy. I went back to the living room, looked at the towel. Empty reflection. Only me. But a second ago there was someone else there. I returned to my room and sat the rest of the night with my back pressed against the wall with the light on. In the morning I told everyone. My voice held no doubt, no attempt to rationalize. I just told them what I saw. And heard. Everyone was silent. We're leaving, Mia said firmly. Right now. I'm not spending another night here. This time no one argued. We started packing when we heard a scream. Mia. Her room. We burst in and froze. The closet was wide open. On the inside of the door, right on the white paint, deep scratches spelled out words. Accented, I've been here a long time. Jesus, Tyler whispered. Where's Ben? Lucas suddenly asked. We looked at each other. Ben wasn't in the room. I ran down the hallway, throwing open doors. He was nowhere. Ben? I shouted. Ben? His phone was on the kitchen table. The screen was on. I grabbed it and my hand trembled. On the screen was an open video. The last one recorded. I pressed play. Ben. His face distorted with terror filmed on the front camera. He was whispering, barely holding back panic, his eyes darting side to side. Accented, he's here. He looks like me. But it's not me. He's standing right. The video cut off. We're leaving, Tyler said. Right now. The police will figure it out. We grabbed keys, phones, didn't even finish packing. Ran out of the house into the morning grayness. I turned around at the car and froze. In the second-floor window, in that very room of Maya's, stood a silhouette. Tall, motionless. It raised its hand and waved. Slowly, almost friendly. We tore away, tires squealing on the asphalt. Epilogue: the return. The police found nothing. The house was empty. No signs of break-in, no signs of struggle. Ben simply disappeared. His car was still parked at the house, but he himself was nowhere to be found. The landlord deleted his account on the booking site. The listing disappeared. No contacts, no traces. As if he never existed. We gave statements, went through interrogations, but the investigation hit a dead end. Missing person, they told us. It happens. People disappear. The first weeks I slept 2 to 3 hours a night. Every creak, every shadow made me jump up. I saw Ben in crowds, heard his voice, but when I turned around, no one. A month passed, and I received a package. A small box. No return address. I opened it in the kitchen of my apartment and my heart stopped. Inside lay a key. Heavy brass. That very key from the house. Under it a folded note. I unfolded it with trembling hands and saw familiar handwriting. Ben's handwriting. Accented, "You forgot to close the door." I turned the paper over. On the back, in the same handwriting, was written, "We're still here. There are just more of us now." I dropped the note. It slowly floated to the floor. I stood there, unable to move, unable to breathe. And then I heard footsteps behind me. Quiet, soft, careful. Someone was standing in the doorway of my kitchen. I didn't turn around, because I realized turning around no longer made sense. Accented, he was already inside.